Daniel, I already proposed this to Alex yesterday, but I want to throw it to you here. Obviously, the Leafs need to make cap. And the Montreal Canadiens right now, I don't think Carey Price is going to play this year. So LTIR, if you go towards the deadline, they have around $9 million in cap space on deadline day because no one knows how the cap works. Here's the trade I propose to the Leafs. You get Ben Sherratt and Jeff Petry. In exchange, you can give up either this year or next year's first round pick. I don't care which one. A second, a third. The second is next year. The third is this year. Rodion Amirov. You're asking Adam, that's a lot because they're also going to throw in Justin Hall and Nick Ritchie for the salary.
Oh.
So what that does is you have Ben Sherratt and there's a better option over Liljegren. Petry, I think, would be a really, really nice addition next to Jake Muzzin. That's a guy, Jeff Petry, say what you want about him. Normally when he's playing at his game, first off, he'll be sheltered a second pair role. His transition game we know is elite. He won't have to man the first power play. Morgan Riley has that. And who gives a crap when Petry's on? He does his stupid point shots because if Matthews and Marner are on the other unit, doesn't matter. You seem like it gives a lot, but we know the price for Sherratt's apparently. Some people say a first in the prospect, some say a first in the third. So what I'm assuming there is the first and the third. Now the second in the prospect is for Petry, and even that's a bit much. His value is low. It's for taking off the salaries of Justin Hall and Nick Ritchie. Jeff Petry is obviously the upgrade on Justin Hall, and Nick Ritchie they want to get rid of for obvious reasons. And the Canadiens are going to need warm bodies because it looks like they're kind of trimming more fat than we thought we would. Daniel, your reaction to my proposed trade. You didn't think I was going to make a big one this year.
I did not. Wow, that one was good. Before what you were going to say with Justin Hall and Nick Ritchie, like I was about to say no because you said Rodion Amirov.
Yes.
But
yeah.
Okay, I think if it's this year's first, the way the Leafs are trending, I would do it.
That's probably going to be between 18, 25.
Yeah. Or 32. We don't know.
Yeah, no, that could happen.
Yeah, you never know.
I'll take it. I saw people complaining, by the way, about the first the Habs got. It's going to be around the 20th. Teams at the bottom 15 aren't going to acquire Tyler Toffoli. Idiots.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that trade later because it's happened.
One question with that is Travis Dermott, how many years does he have left?
I'm on their page right now. He has one more year after this.
Okay.
$1.5 million.
He'll be there.
Okay.
So it's him or Liljegren first, man. I'm trying to think it's awful.
And Liljegren, what was it, 5 points the last 4 games?
Yeah, but I'm
not too sure.
Yeah, but Liljegren in the playoffs, I don't know. You can't. Him and Sandin cannot work in the playoffs. I guarantee it's not going to work.
Would Jeff Petry be retained or no? He would it was straight up.
We can negotiate on it. It doesn't sound like the Habs want to. But they're a team. The reason Montreal works as the dance partner is because they can take the second year of Ritchie's additional money. Especially when you can tell the Habs are cutting salary, not just because they're cutting salary and they're poor, because they're not, but it's more to do with the bodies they're moving out. They've started to, and they're probably going to continue to. Also, Sherratt, obviously, in the third line, like a third pairing role, can really give you that grit that you need.
Can you play on his offhand?
Yes, he actually has. He has been, and he's done it before, and he says he's comfortable with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still say no.
Of course you do.
Why do you say no, Alex?
I say no for I think pretty legitimate reasons. First off, I will have to say Jeff Petry would not be sheltered on this team. The Jake Muzzin pairing is generally the shutdown pair. So he would be exposed. That's just Jake Muzzin's been the shutdown pair since he had Nikita Zaitsev as his partner. Also, I don't know what's wrong with Jake Muzzin. So as long as Jake Muzzin's this Jake Muzzin, I don't feel comfortable with the Leafs taking on 6.2. Is it 6.25? I don't want to get it wrong. Yeah. I don't feel comfortable with them taking on 6.25 of how old's Jeff Petry? 32, 33?
It's 34.
34 for the next 3 years after this one. So that is a huge concern if I'm Kyle Dubas. I'm not saying I want to be clear. I'm not saying I wouldn't give up those assets. I just don't think the players fit the need that the team needs at this moment. And I think
I disagree with Ben Sherratt there. Perrault's exactly what they need.
I don't think that's what they need, though. Like, the Tampa Bay Lightning went out and acquired 3 players over 2 years, right? They acquired Barclay Goodrow, they acquired Blake Coleman, they acquired David Savard. Those are immensely good players. Like especially the first 2, they worked out extremely well for 2 playoff runs, 2 cups. But I don't see the appeal in Ben Chiarot for a first round pick. I don't know why David Savard and Ben Chiarot are being compared, to be honest. I think a lot of it is 2020 hindsight with the 50 or so games or 48 or so games of David Savard we've watched in a Montreal Canadiens uniform. And I don't think that's fair to do at all. So I'm not entirely sure what the comparison there is, other than they're the best defensemen fully available at the moment. Like,
Chikrin and Klingberg, but they
have term. They're not rentals, right? Like, or Klingberg's a rental, but he hasn't officially asked for a trade request, and we don't know what the hell the Dallas Stars are doing.
Yeah.
I don't see the appeal for paying a first round pick for Ben Chiarot. Like, I don't.
That's price. That's not play style and the fit they need. The price is one thing, but Ben, you said before they want a Zach Bogosian type. That's Ben Chiarot. The price is one thing, but stylistically, he's exactly what they want.
Yeah, so I agree with the player. I don't agree with the price at all. Mm-hmm. I think the price is ludicrous, and year after year, I still don't understand how NHL teams value players. Like, I don't. I tweeted it today. I don't understand. So for a multitude of reasons, I reject this offer. I think for very fair concerns, that's $6.25 million for 3 more years on a guy who's 34. Their concerns are already there with Jake Muzzin. To have a second pairing where those concerns would still be lingering for multiple years. Jake Muzzin has 2 more years after this. I think that's concerning, especially for Kyle Dubas.
They have different problems, though. Petry's speed isn't going anywhere, and he doesn't do a physical style. So it's different.
Okay, but he's 34. Things can still decline. I don't think it makes sense for them to pair a 32-year-old and a 34-year-old right now, when the 32-year-old in Jake Muzzin is not Jake Muzzin right now. There's no point in acquiring $6.25 million in salary when you currently have $7, almost $8 million essentially of, I don't know what the hell this is, right? Like, you're already in turmoil with cap. So are you moving Jake Muzzin and Justin Hall? Are you moving all these guys and then fixing your defense over the summer? You get what I mean?
That's going to happen eventually anyway, because you can't just keep going with patchwork Justin Hall $2 million defenseman on your second pair.
But I don't think
it's not working.
Correct. I don't think Jeff Petry is the perfect solution, though.
How have Muzzin and Riley played together before? Has that worked?
Have they tried that?
They've never tried it. Briefly, maybe.
But we love TJ Brody.
If you can try that and it worked, then Brody and listen, I think you have a Brody Petry pair that works just as well. I think that can work really well.
Sure, but you still have Jake Muzzin at $5 million, $5.6 million on your book.
Keep out on defense,
Adam. So what you're suggesting is that the Leafs pay extra to get rid of Nick Ritchie and Justin Hall right now, and then in the summer pay extra to get rid of Jake Muzzin, because that's the only solution. They're not going to buy him out. Well, who's going to take Jake Muzzin when he's playing like this?
I'm not saying you trade Jake Muzzin. So
you can't. Then you're absolutely blowing the forward lineup up, because they have $8.5 million of cap space next season. They have, who's going to be a free agent? Kasha is going to be a free agent. Engvall's going to be a free agent. McCann's going to be a free agent. McCann's probably not coming back. You have no idea what your goaltending looks like next year. Jack Campbell, UFA. Who knows if he's coming back? Peter Mrazek, gone. So now again, you're probably going to have to pay, unless Peter Mrazek jumps out of a cannon and becomes amazing.
Joseph Ball.
He's like 23.
Come on.
Yeah.
Don't. So who? Adam, but Joseph Woll is not an NHL backup yet, and he's also not a 40 to 45 game goalie. So they still have to fill one hole. You're taking on a lot of cap for the next 3 years, where there's a lot of questions.
Are they a better team afterwards? Of course they are.
They're a better team this year.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: they have to win in the next 3 years. They have to win now. If they don't win now, Kyle Dubas, Brendan Shanahan, and Sheldon Keefe are gone. Yeah, but that's in the mindset of the management group. If you look at the contracts and the players, and what is it? It's 2-3 years, and then Muzzin, Brody, Nylander, and Matthews are out. That's
correct.
There is the window of how fans may see it. But if you're looking at contract window, that's the big one. Is maybe my core argument here, should we get away from the Petry stuff, because obviously I'm very much trying to get the Sherrod thing to happen, even though it's probably going to be the Rangers and it's going to be freaking hilarious. And obviously I'm not paying a first for Sherrod because I don't think he's worth it, because I've watched hundreds of his games.
Right.
My still thing is, like, I still have a fundamental problem with your defense. I don't think it's horrible. It's just I can't stand, like, I look at Jared McCann, right? And I'm like, man, he's been good. And it's like the Justin Hall thing has just been so frustrating to look at. And it's like, I hate hearing this thing of, like, remember earlier in the year they had to play a shorthanded thing because of the cap reasons. They're not the only team to do it. But it's like, you hear that and it's like, oh, we got to protect Justin Hall because he's an affordable defenseman. And I'm just like, how in the world can you continue to run a team where it's like, oh, our fourth defenseman can't make more than $2 million? I think
that's hindsight. I think that's huge hindsight to say that they shouldn't have protected Justin Hall. He was literally a part of. Wait a second. He was literally a part of their shutdown pair for an entire year. Canadian Division, North Division. I don't care. He was literally a part of their. He was literally a part of their shutdown pair for an entire year. If that wasn't an issue, if there was no expansion, Jared McCann's not a Leaf. Jared McCann's not a Leaf. This idea that we could have kept Jared McCann they weren't going to trade for Jared McCann. There was no need for them to trade for Jared McCann, with the exception of the expansion draft.
But you got rid of it. It's still a thing of, like, you acquired. Here's what's annoying is, if you look at overall player, McCann was the better player compared to, like, Kerfoot, right? Here's what's really annoying about this. He's the best overall player of them. And you know how much I value center depth. It's just, I don't know. It's a fundamental thing where I just hate hearing it is all. Because I'm like, man, you need defense to win. And I look at Tampa and I'm like, listen, McDonough's water around. I know those contracts are like, this is just gross, but Hedman's around, I think he's like 7.8 million. It's disgusting how good it is. And I'm like, okay, McDonough's around. I want to say he's 6 or 7. Sergachev, I want to say, is around 5-ish. And it's like, is there not that wiggle room? And I know the team's going to still look different when they're going to, McKay's probably gone. Who knows with Kasha and all that. It just bothers me to look at. I just look at this roster sometimes. It just makes me angry. I'm like, what the heck is Travis Dermott now? Like, when is that experiment done?
Tampa's fourth defenseman makes $2.95 million.
Yeah.
Eric Cernak. They all those guys could get paid absolutely handsomely more.
Yeah.
Correct? Mm-hmm. The top 3 could get paid handsomely more. So so the Tampa's fourth defenseman makes 2.95. They've won 2 cups. Like, I don't like, what's the point you're making about the defenseman?
Well, that's twice as much money. Well, I'm just saying is, I don't think you can have first off, Cernak got bridged. That was a short term. Okay. Same with Sergachev. They're bridged, but they're going to get big paid for it. Plus, we've discussed this season, Justin Hall just isn't quite good enough.
Correct.
And it's like we look at upgrades and people are talking about Luke Shen. I'm like,
but they're not talking about Luke Shen as a Justin Hall replacement. They're talking about Luke Shen to play on the third pairing.
Listen, at the end of the day, the answer simply is Liljegren's going to be a top 4 defenseman in a couple of years. Like the real answer is he's up there in a couple of years. It's just until then. Because at the end of the day, the forward group is great. Do I still think they need a better centerman? Yes, I'm never going to shut up about that. But at the end of the day, the defense right now is like, what's going on here? You rest Campbell and that's going to sort itself out. I still, and I've been saying this, I've been saying it for a year now. that I still think you need a bigger piece in defense. And listen,
So how is Ben Sherratt that answer though? I don't.
No, that's
understand.
a different. No, I've moved on from Ben Sherratt. I'm just talking about the fundamental problems I have with the defense.
Oh yeah, then we're in full agreement on that, 100%. But what you're suggesting is talking about blowing up. Then you're going to have to somehow blow up that forward core. So that's the reality, and that's not going to happen under this administration. Like it's our management group. Sorry, it's just not going to happen.
No, that's fair.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but I respect Kyle Dubas for the fact that for the last 4 or 5 years, he said, we're going to win with this core and is trying to find a way around it. Most people are going to collapse and not find a way around it. When you have 4 guys as skilled as they do, you damn find a way to win around that. You do. Look at Tampa. Tampa did that. Tampa's lucky because those guys are taking discounts left, right, and center. Unfortunately, the Leafs don't have that capability, whether it's with Lou or whether not. It's just the reality. Tampa Bay is going to get the discount. There's a legitimate discount down there.
Canadian taxes, everyone.